In this video, I'll share some best practices you should consider when setting up smart connector delivery types. But first, let's discuss a little terminology. When you create a smart connector, you'll have to select a delivery type. This tells the system where your data is located. Several of the delivery type options available fetch data from hosted locations. These are things like OneDrive, Dropbox, FTP, or Google Drive. These delivery types are called scheduled file delivery. We call them scheduled file delivery because the system goes out automatically on a scheduled basis to look for new data, as compared to a manual upload where you attach a file yourself and there is no automation. When using scheduled file delivery types, there are a few best practices you should follow to ensure the data fetching process runs successfully and error-free. So I'll discuss those now. The first recommendation is double-check your file directory path. What does this mean? Well, for hosted locations, you'll tell the system where you want to pull data from. This might be a file path, which resembles a website URL, or it might be some other reference. It isn't uncommon to copy this path incorrectly. We see a lot of error message simply because this reference path isn't typed incorrectly or completely. So double check everything before saving your smart connector. Okay, the next recommendation is to have a unique folder for every file. What does that mean? Well, when you create a smart connector, the system is going to check automatically for updates. To ensure the right data is being found, we suggest you isolate relevant files into their own folders. This ensures only the data you want makes it into the system. All right, the third recommendation relates to sample files. When creating a sample file, make sure it has at least 2 rows. The first row should contain the names of the fields you want to map, and the second row should include relevant data for each of those fields. What you want to do is train the system to read and interpret your data correctly. Sometimes people will load a sample file with only 1 row, and it can lead to errors in processing. Okay, the fourth and final recommendation is use the recommended naming convention for the files you want to upload. Having a standard naming convention that follows TapClicks best practices will ensure the system always interprets your files correctly. Here's the format for the file name, for example. The smart connector name, underscore, then the date. For example, I have a smart connector called Add Media and some new data for the 13th of October, 2020. In this case, the name for that file will be Add Media underscore 2020-10-13, right, for October 13th. For the date format, stick to the International Standard Date format defined by ISO. That's a 4-digit year, 2-digit month, and 2-digit day separated by hyphens. So there you have it. These are the 4 most common setup best practices we recommend to make sure that your data gets into the TapClicks Smart Connector every time successfully. I hope this helps.